Alright, what's going on, y'all? So today we are going to be looking at some rental teams that I have prepared for you guys for June. First off, I want to apologize for not making any videos for the past few days. Just been, I don't know, busy, I guess, and sometimes it is nice to take a few days off, you know? But that being said, I do want to appreciate those of you who, do consistently tune into the channel and support in that sense. So, thank you to all of you who are tuning in, and if you are not subscribed, consider giving a subscribe, of course. Also leave a like and comment on the video to help spread the video. I gotta think of a QOTD, right? QOTD, what's your favorite team that we're looking at today? So we're actually going to be looking at 10, count them, 10 rental teams, because now that Pokemon Home's out, I can build in Scarlet and Violet, you know what I'm saying? So I've got 10 rental teams for you guys, and I hope you appreciate that, but it also means we're going to have to go over them a little bit quicker. So I do apologize for that. We might not get to talk about them as in depth, but I will try to at least just mention the Pokemon and the general way to play the team, right? But we can't get super in depth, I guess, with 10 teams. So just looking at this first team, I do have two Belly Drum plus Orthworm teams for this month, and we have technically already used them in previous videos, but we've got a few new teams as well to throw on top of it all. But I just thought it'd be nice to get you guys a bunch of solid teams, and honestly, I've been building some sauce. So these teams they've definitely been showing improvement to me in some way, which I really like. So going over this team, this is just an Azumarill Orthworm team, right? So the main idea is that Azumarill is really good when it has Belly Drum, and when you get it behind a substitute, it's oh geez. So, I mean, just going over the Pokemon one by one first, we have the leftovers, Fire Terra, Orthworm, right? Body Press, Iron Defense, Heavy Slam, Shed Tail, pretty standard. I would much rather have this moveset than put Protect on something and then not be able to hit Flutter Mane or not be able to click Iron Defense. This works. And it is definitely something to be said that Citrus Berry is the best item on Orthworm, right? And we have it on Azumarill because Azumarill has Belly Drum. But I do think it works. And if you're really that worried about not being able to set up Orthworm, just do something else, right? I think my Tinglu should be faster than Orthworm too, so technically in that case, if you're really worried about it, you could try starting Tinglu Orthworm and click Earthquake Shed Tail, and maybe you get taken down under 50, you heal yourself back above 50, and you Shed Tail. You know what I mean? So ultimately, there's different ways to deal with that, but Safety Goggles, Mouse Hold, Ghost Terra, no Protect, we have Taunt, Helping Hand, Follow Me, Super Fang. Very nice with this Orthworm. Azumarill does not have Liquidation, it has Belly Drum, right? Still has Protect. I thought Protect was honestly really important, has helped a lot. We have never came into a instance yet with the team where we needed the Farigiraf slot. It used to be Flutter Mane, but I think Farigiraf just kind of complements the team a little bit better. Stopping Priority, which once the sub gets broken on Azumarill, that's going to be the biggest threat, right? It's just other Priority. So we have Farigiraf, we have Psychic, Hyper Voice, Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam if we really need it, Standard Tinglu, Poison Terra. We have a Life Orb, Electric Terra, Caliper with Hydro Pump, Hurricane, and Terra Blast. It is fast, so it is something to be said that this team does not. This team is not just get Trick Room, get Trick Room. Trick Room is actually not the biggest facet of this team, and it's more so just nice to have. Like I said, in the 3 or 4 games that I've played with this team, I literally never brought the Farigiraf slot, and it wasn't even Farigiraf at that point, and we were still able to pull it off. And, you know, Fluttermane could be good in that slot, but it's just not what we're doing, right? So, talking about general ways to use the team really quick before we jump to the other next team. I really do like starting Mousehold Orthworm. I think in a lot of cases that's just the best thing to do, and even if someone starts Fake Out, sometimes I can just say, okay, well, like, you Fake Out one thing and I still get to do something with the other thing. And that was really nice in the case of, like, when someone started like Iron Hands Amoonguss, and they like faked out Orthworm, and then I taunted the Amoonguss, and everything was fine. Like, you know what I mean? So you do have things like that. Because if they didn't do that, I would have just clicked Shed Tail, right? It's like you fake out Mousehold, you're not stopping anything. Like, you know. So you do have nice little synergies like that. But I do think while Mousehold Orthworm is the most consistent way to start the team, if you really want Trick Room, then Mousehold Farigiraf is pretty much a guarantee, right? If you are worried, you can do the Ting Blue Orthworm thing like I was saying. I just don't think it's perfect. Pelipper Azumarill is obviously a start, but I really don't do it that much on this team. Like, I would say it's a lot of the time it's like Orthworm, Mousehold with like Azumarill, and then one of the other three in the back, right? But that being said, you know, yes, you can start like Orthworm Farigiraf, Orthworm Mousehold. I think those are going to be your other two most solid leads. So, excuse me, I just burped. But let's move on, because I don't want to ramble too much. Like, there is a lot to be said about a team like that, but like, we have a lot to talk about today, so. Going on to our next team, this is definitely a fun team that we've got here, and I am going to try to keep it a little bit more short for these next ones, because, yeah, like, it'll be a long video if not. So, Rotom, Great Tusk, Fluttermane, Farigiraf, Sawsbuck, and Tortle on this team. We've got an AV Rotom, very standard Electric Terra, except that we have Uproar, my guy. So, I did think about, like, you could just run Shadow Ball, right? Like, Shadow Ball is good. But Uproar is a very interesting tech for being able to stop things like, Amoonguss. And admittedly, I could just be running Uproar on my Farigiraf instead, and then I could run Shadow Ball on Rotom. But this is what I decided on. And I mean, Hyper Voice just has the additional benefit of like not being locked into it, right? Like, you can click Hyper Voice, get your boost, click Psychic the next turn, OHKO and Annihilate. That doesn't Terra, because that's literally what it does. Like, if you get the chance, that is. But yeah, we have Choice Scarf Great Tusk. I did not have time to get a Steel Terra Great Tusk, so you will see me using Ground Terra Scarf Tusk on 2 teams. And while I don't think it's perfect, I do think there's times where that additional damage actually is very crucial for OHKOing things like bulky Fluttermane. So, that being said, kinda stonks in some sense. Standard Great Tusk set, Life Orb Fluttermane, very standard Fairy Terra, Farigiraf, Throat Spray, Dazzling Gleam, Fairy Terra. I've just, like, generally always felt like that was the best way to do things, but I do recognize that, like, it gets more moves than this, right? Like, like, you can definitely do other things with Farigiraf besides this, this one set that I always use, and it can be good, right? Like, it learns Shadow Ball, it learns Protect, things of that nature, right? So, I do like it, though, and I think it complements the team really well. Sawsbuck with Choice Band here is definitely the star of the team, right? We've got a Chlorophyll Sawsbuck with Choice Band, Ground Terra, Hornleech, Bulldoze, Smart Strike, and Play Rough. So, first thing that I want to say about it, the Torkoal's pretty standard, so we don't really have to go over that too much, right? But it has Heat Wave over Flamethrower. That is one thing I'm thinking about changing. The Saw's Buck, I had to run some calcs, right? And what I basically realized is that while you do miss a few crucial KOs by running Jolly instead of Adamant, I still think that it is worth it for being able to deal with things like Iron Bundle. So, I mean, one of the biggest threats to this team with certain modes of playing it, I think would be a really well positioned like Iron Bundle plus something, like Iron Bundle Chi, Iron Bundle Fluttermane. And that's only a problem if I'm running Adamant Sawsbuck. And if I'm running Jolly Sawsbuck, I can switch in the Torkoal or start Sawsbuck Torkoal. And even if they start like Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, I can literally Smart Strike the Fluttermane and just click like Eruption or something. And it's like, sure, you might KO Sawsbuck with Iron Bundle, but I'm definitely KOing the Fluttermane, and I'm definitely KOing the Bundle if you don't have a Sash on either of them, which you shouldn't. And then, you know, you'd bring out like Flutter, Great Tusk, something like that, right? So, in my opinion, the best way to run this team is with the core of Rotom, Sawsbuck, Torkoal, and one more thing, right? So, a lot of the time, what you might be wanting to do with this team is start like Sawsbuck Fluttermane, Sawsbuck Rotom, Sawsbuck Frigraph, Sawsbuck Torkoal. You could also do Sawsbuck Great Tusk, right? But like, you want to position yourself in a way that you look at the options on your opponent's side of the field, and then you say, who do I want to switch out for Torkoal, or can I just click Bulldoze right now, get like crucial speed lowerings, and then bring in Fluttermane later, or like Great Tusk later, and just like sweep, right? So you might start like Sawsbuck Torkoal, and actually in some instances just click like Protect Bulldoze, and that will, you know, lower your opponent's speed, definitely do a solid chunk to like Fluttermane and Chi-Yu, right? And then you'd bring in Fluttermane in the back and just try to sweep from there, because they would either have to switch out or just deal with it. Right? So you do have things like that, like, you know, Sawsbuck Torkoal lead, or you know, like Sawsbuck Fluttermane, and then switch one of them out for Torkoal if needed, right? And I do actually think that Rotom plays a pretty strong role on this team as well. So the Ground Terra Bulldoze will miss KOs on Chi-Yu. That's all I'm saying. Like, the Ground Terra Bulldoze will miss KOs on Chi-Yu, and that's something that you need to be aware of. And that's why I think that versus Chi-Yu sometimes, the best start is either going to just be Great Tusk Torkoal, or like Torkoal Sawsbuck, Protect Bulldoze, switch something in the next turn, right? So fun stuff. Going on to our next team. I definitely didn't shorten the amount of time that I talked. So going on to this team, we have Belly Drum Iron Hands with Orthworm now. So this version of the team is really kind of just trying to take advantage of, as you can imagine, like the pressure of Trick Room in order to help set up Orthworm, right? So like a lot of the times you're going to start in DD Orthworm, which to some degree is actually a much more consistent way to set up Orthworm than Iron Hands, than Mousehold, because, you know, Mousehold doesn't have that priority block, right? So while we are still running leftovers on Orthworm, which changes the way that you have to play the team, the Indeedee Orthworm is still a very threatening lead, and you can do something like start Follow Me Shedtail, obviously. You might just actually click Shedtail Trick Room because your opponent is so threatened into targeting Indeedee. There's always the threat of just starting Indeedee Armor Rogue and just clicking Follow Me E-Force and blowing things up. So there's a lot of different ways to start this team that like complement each other really well, right? Like, it's like, oh god, I don't think I can start Orthworm. Why don't I just start Indeedee Armor Rogue and literally just click Follow Me Trick Room and then Expanding Force, like, you know. And sure, the Ruins, you know, are good against Armor Rogue right now, but you know what's good against the Ruins? Iron Hands and Orthworm. So like, you have a lot going for you in that. And you also have Gyarados to help deal with Amoonguss with the safety goggles. So, you know, you could click, like, I don't know, you could start, like, Indeedee Orthworm, get the Shedtail up, switch out Indeedee the next turn for Gyarados when they swap in their Amoonguss. Then you have your, hopefully still have your, Shedtail up, you can taunt the Amoonguss, you know, everything is fine, right? You also have Grass Terror if you really need it on two different Pokemon, being the Iron Hands and the Armor Rogue, right? So there's a lot of some very good synergies to not only try to like help us be good in Trick Room by not having to deal with Amoonguss, but also like covering the bases of the other Pokemon, which is really nice, right? So just to move on from this team really quick, because I know we are definitely, you know, using our time. Common leads, obviously, Indeedee Orthworm, Indeedee Armor Rogue. Iron Hands Armor Rogue can be a lead, right? Gyarados Orthworm I've done. I don't start Tinglu that much, but it can definitely be an integral part of the team. And I like that this Iron Hands has Drain Punch, Earthquake, Belly Drum, and Wild Charge. There is times, right, where you don't like taking that extra recoil from Wild Charge, but there's also other times where this team actually struggles to get up the setup, so you end up, like, just using Wild Charge for the damage that it has, instead of being like, okay, well, I'm gonna get Belly Drum, and then hopefully I do damage, right? Like, you know, the Wild Charge without Belly Drum is kind of crucial sometimes, so that's the reasoning. But I know, you know, I had a discussion with multiple people about whether or not Thunder Punch is better, and I do always, you know, think about minor adjustments to my teams, so there's that. Going on to our fourth team, we've got that Scarf Great Tusk Mousehold team. So this was a team comp that I think was being explored a lot around the time of the Hartford Regional. Just the idea that Murkrow, Chi-Yu, Great Tusk, Fluttermane, and mostly just those four, but like also kind of Gyarados, were going really, really well together. So something that you might even see being a very common team is like just putting a Amoonguss in the place of Mousehold. Nick Navarre ran almost exactly this team, but with Brute Bonnet over Gyarados at Hartford. And so that was kind of funny to see. He did have the Steel Terra Great Tusk, which I do think is ultimately the best. But, again, this is just what I have right now, and if I do plan on making any adjustments, I will always keep you guys updated on that. So there will always be in the comments, you know, I've changed this team in this way, I changed this team in this way, the rental code is this now, you know, like there's always that. But talking about this team is really kind of just centered around like doing damage, right? It's a very offensive team. It really wants to like be the one pushing the pressure, right? And so a lot of the really good leads are going to be like Murkrow Great Tusk, Murkrow Fluttermane, Mousehold Fluttermane, things like that, right? Where you're kind of like threatening to either boost the damage a lot of Flutter Mane or Great Tusk, or to say like, hey, I'm just going to do big damage with them and you're not even going to be able to target them for significant damage because I'm just going to click follow me, right? So it forces people to kind of respect possibly not even being able to hit Flutter Mane or Great Tusk or Chi-Yu or whatever on that turn with the following pressure, and then you just click Pop Bomb and you Pop Bomb things. So the Pop Bomb coming from a Jolly mouse hold is definitely important, because while you might think that you really need that adamant attack difference at times with Pop Bomb, you really don't. Like, you just don't. And that's kind of the crazy thing about mouse hold. Like, mouse hold, even with Jolly, can OHKO Dragonite with Pop Bomb, can definitely OHKO Chi-Yu, can, I don't know, like, just do crazy damage to a lot of things and KO a lot of things. So your real reason for running Jolly is to counter Chi-Yu, and that's just nice. It's nice to have. Yes, Ghost Terra is common on Chi-Yu, but like, why would they Ghost Terra Chi-Yu in front of like a mouse hold Flutter Mane lead? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So there's things like that. Talking about the team just really quickly as leads, you know, Murkrow, Great Tusk, Murkrow, Flutter. I already said the others with mouse hold, Flutter, Great Tusk, right? Gyarados, Great Tusk, other solid lead. We do have the Dragon Dance Gyarados with Citrus Berry, so another great lead is going to be mouse hold Gyarados, where you're either going to Pop Bomb something or you're going to click Follow Me Dragon Dance. You also have Taunt on mouse hold to deal with a Moongus, which Gyarados can't, which is really nice. I mean, it can do significant damage with Terra Blast, but it doesn't have its own Taunt, and there is times where that does feel kind of bad, but, you know, we make do with it, right? So, fun stuff, fun stuff. The Chi-Yu, I like Life Orb Chi-Yu because one thing this team is really good at is stopping Trick Room. Like, we have so much offense with Great Tusk, Chi-Yu, and Flutter Mane that pretty much any, like, Indeedee Hat, Indeedee Armorogue combo struggles quite a lot to actually get away with what it wants. I would say Indeedee Armorogue is one of the more scary in that case, but, like, we fare really well against, like, Indeedee Hat, you know, no problem. So, good stuff. And, you know, the Sash, I think, might not be able to do that. So, going on to the fifth team is the Screamtail team. The Howl Screamtail team that I used in the last Premier Challenge, or whatever it was called. The Global Challenge online thing. I didn't play enough to do really well, but I do really like this team, and I think it has a lot of potential. One thing I will say is that there's a huge debate as to whether Encore Disable should go over Reflect or Light Screen, but I have found the additional damage being very nice on this team. Excuse me. Or I mean the additional damage reduction. The one thing I will say is that I'm still running a Water Terra Arcanine, and I think that on a Howl team, obviously normal Terra Arcanine is really nice. So that is something I might play around with, but at the moment I felt like there is times where you actually do still want the Water Terra. So there's that. But Steel Terra Screamtail, Poison Terra Chien-Pao for, you know, reducing a lot of crucial damage. I do know that Ghost Terra is good as well, but that's what we've got. Focus Sash Chien-Pao with Sacred Sword, Sucker Punch, and Ice Spinner. We have the AV Iron Hands with Fire Terra and Fire Punch. We have Citrus Berry Arcanine with Water Terra. No Protect to run Howl E-Speed and Will-O-Wisp with Flare Blitz. Leftovers Corp with Brave, Bird, Bulk Up, Body Press, Roost, very good set. And then we also have the Fire Tera Dragapult with Life Orb and Tera Blast. So the idea here is really that, like, Dragapult and Chien-Pao and things of that nature are a huge threat with a Howl boost. And so you have really good opportunities with Screamtail or Arcanine to just click like Protect with Chien-Pao plus Howl, Protect with Dragapult plus Howl. And then once you have that massive boost, you can start pressuring the damage with the other slot while setting up Reflects or Light Screens, and also making Screamtail hit harder, because while it doesn't have a good attack stat, you know, a +3 Howl Play Rough is still hitting, you know what I'm saying? So, common leads with this team are definitely like Howl, Screamtail plus Dragapult. It's like my favorite lead with the team, bringing Chien-Pao in the back, right, for the even bigger damage. And one of the main reasons why I'm running the team way that I am is that, as always, Amoonguss is a big problem, but it's even less of a problem if it doesn't expect what's about to happen. So, if you lead Dragapult Screamtail, you can just click Howl, Fire Tera Blast, and you will OHKO an Amoonguss that does not Tera. And they shouldn't feel like they need to Tera unless they've seen my team, right? So, or they like really expect the Fire Tera for some reason, but like, yeah, they shouldn't Tera. And then you deal with Amoonguss, which is really nice. Other ways to run the team, of course, you know, it's like you can start Screamtail Iron Hands or like Arcanine Iron Hands and click like Fake Out Howl. And then like Fire Tera, Fire Punch, right? But like you'd probably want to do that with Screamtail instead of Arcanine, because Arcanine actually pressures Amoonguss to not want to just stay in Amoonguss. That's like not Tera, you know. And you want Amoonguss to not try to Tera so that you can just OHKO with Fire Punch, right? And not have to deal with annoying things. So there is times where I do think this team might actually like Gyarados in the Arcanine slot, and that's something that I was thinking about trying, but, you know, again, it's something I might try, right? But this is a really fun team, and, yeah, you know, give it a try. I just want to keep moving, you know. So what we gotta do now is we gotta go into Scarlet. Hope you guys have been enjoying watching the Milwaukee Regionals. It has definitely been crazy. Alright, so going on to our 6th rental team now. 6th rental team is the newest version of my Bronzong Tinglu team. So one of the biggest problems that we had was, like, it was nice to have Storm Drain, but like, if you're losing to Amoonguss, what does it matter? It just doesn't. And I mean, like, I had Taunt on Tatsugiri, whatever, like, it just wasn't perfect in my opinion. So what I would rather do is run a Dragonite with Safeguard, and that allows us to not only stop Amoongus on the opposing team, but also to benefit from Howl Arcanine if we really need to, right? I am still running Inner Focus Dragonite, which I understand is not perfect. It's just I don't have like the necessary item to make it multi-scale, and then if I make it multi-scale it can't be Inner Focus anymore, and like I just have to make another Dragonite. But I actually do think that Inner Focus is really nice sometimes when you're banking so heavily on getting those attack, you know, the crucial attack damage, right? And you have the normal Terra if you really need to like get away from taking all that damage from a fairy move or something, right? But the rest of the team deals with it so well that it's like, what does it even matter, right? Like, am I really that worried about Fluttermane, you know? Like, so some of the crucial adjustments that I made to this team since the last version is we took Choice Band off Tinglu for weakness policy, and we have Amoongus, right? I mean, Amoongus is always there. There's nothing that changed about that. We have Water Terra Amoongus now. That is one change, because it's optimal. You know, the Dark Terra was kind of just a convenience, but I do think Water Terra Amoongus is really good. So we do now have that Life Orb Dragonite, which, I mean, it gives away the fact that you're not Inner Focus, or I mean that you are Inner Focus, but it also allows you to still deal what at times can be crucial damage, right? I mean, you could say Lumberry, I guess. It's like, we have Safeguard, so it should be fine. But that being said, you could do Lumberry, you set up Trick Room, you protect Bronzong, you get Spore on Dragonite, you click Safeguard, it's fine. You know, so Lumberry I think would also be another good item. But talking about general leads, right, like the most common leads are going to be Iron Hands Bronzong, Amoongus Bronzong, and Tinglu Bronzong, or Arcanine, right? But any way that you can like reduce damage on Bronzong or take pressure off Bronzong, set up Trick Room, and then let the team start doing what it wants to do, right? I really like the Bronzong Tinglu lead if you can afford it, because Bronzong is usually bulky enough to just get up that Trick Room anyways, and in Trick Room, Bronzong will be faster than Tinglu, so before you ever click Iron Defense, if you really need to, you can body press yourself, set off your own weakness policy, and then click Earthquake. I don't think it's the optimal way to play. I think Tinglu gets its weakness policy set off on its own most of the time anyways, so like it's kind of like, why not just do normal things and just let them set off the weakness policy, right? Like, but if you need to, you know, that is like your one kind of way to set off your own weakness policy. Like, I don't think Life Orb Ice Spinnering yourself is a good way to set off weakness policy, or Drain Punching yourself. So, but that being said, you know, I really do like the synergies that this team has with being able to set up Bronzong, and because of how fast I've been trying to move talking about the teams, I'm kind of like glossing over how deadly this team actually is. Like, if you saw me using this team in the second global challenge or whatever it was, like, Bronzong literally just sits there forever, and it's really, really, really hard to deal with. It does have to be able to, like, you know, you have to take out Fluttermane and things like that before you can address just like letting Bronzong sit there, but we have ways to do that. Like, we have so many ways. We have Tinglu. It's really all you need, kind of, like. So yeah, really fun team. Bronzong is such a threat. I know the meta has been changing a little bit, but it is what it is. This is the 7th team. This is a it's an updated version of the King Gambit Howl team. So what we're doing now is we're just going back to the version where King Gambit was over Champ Howl, because let's be honest, you don't actually need Rune Pokemon in Regulation C. And so we have King Gambit to do King Gambit things, which ultimately, like, you know, if you can boost King Gambit's attack on your own while it still has the Assault Vest, I think that's, like, extremely threatening and something to not really be looked over. Ooh, I ran out of music. What am I gonna do? Let's just play this one. So, yeah, the big change, though, is that, like, now this team actually does have Gyarados instead of Arcanine, right? So, like, we have the Taunt Gyarados with the Iron Head, Steel Terra. We do have leftovers now instead of Lumberry on Corviknight, which I felt like was okay because of the Taunt Gyarados. Clear Amulet Iron Hands because the AV is on King Gambit, and I like being able to stop Intimidate. So the main idea behind this team, originally as conceived in this form, was that you have Howl and you have 4 physical attackers that can't be intimidated. If you try to intimidate King Gambit, you get Defiant Boost. If you try to intimidate Corviknight, it just Mirror Armors you. Dragapult has Clear Body, and Iron Hands has Clear Amulet. So you have 4 Pokemon that you can Howl set up that can't be intimidated, and then you have an Intimidator with Gyarados or Arcanine, right? So this team does function very similarly to the Champ Howl version. It's just, you know, King Gambit is a lot more bulky, and while it's slower, it can take those knockouts that, it can take the knockouts and the longevity that Champ Howl might be, like, ruining in some degree, right? Like, if Champ Howl just dies in one turn, like, what does it really matter? Whereas King Gambit is gonna, like, sit there and do things, even if it doesn't, like, have the same type of coverage, or maybe at times doesn't do the same damage, right? Gyarados I do like on the team. I like Thunder Wave, I like Taunt, like Will-O-Wisp is great, but I think Gyarados adds a really interesting niche to the team, so interested to try that out eventually. 8th team is going to be the Gallade team. I brought back Gallade. You guys are welcome. So this is pretty much the exact same team as I used to have for Gallade. Also was featured on Pokesports channel if you saw that. And you think this team looks familiar. The one change is that now instead of having the Ground Terra Gyarados, we have the Steel Terra Gyarados. We have the Water Terra on Amoonguss now instead of the Dark Terra. But besides that, everything is the same, right? Like, we have Focus Sash Chi-Yu, we have Icy Wind, Steel Terra Fluttermane to pair with Gallade. If we do really need to still, like, moderate speed, like, Choice Scarf is nice, but sometimes it's not nice enough. Sometimes you still feel like you're going to get outsped, and you need Icy Wind Fluttermane. So we have that. Life Orb Chi-Yu or Champ Howl packs a Punch, and that can be very nice because people don't expect things like Life Orb Ice Spinner OHKOing Fluttermane, because they're so confident. They're like, I got my bulky Fluttermane, click Sucker Punch, I don't care. And it's like, well, I'm just gonna Life Orb Ice Spinner you, and like, you gotta be really bulky to live that one, my guy. Like, I'm sorry. You know what you have to be really bulky to live as well? A Sharpness Psycho Cut. So, you know, Gallade really is kind of crazy, and it's fun to use. So, we also have the Amoonguss as well for redirection pressure. So, common leads, right, are going to be like Amoonguss Gallade, Fluttermane Gallade, Gyarados Gallade, you know, Fluttermane Champ Howl, Champ Howl Amoonguss, you know, random things like that. So yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I think one of the best cores on the team is, like, Amoonguss, Gallade, Fluttermane, Champao, or, like, something like that, right? So there's definitely a lot of things this team can do, which is nice. So going on to our last two teams are teams that you guys have not seen, except for, I think I did show the, excuse me, I showed the Glamora team already, but this team you guys have not seen. So this is another HAL team that, excuse me, this is another HAL team that really likes to take benefit of kind of just having really bulky, good Pokemon, right? So, like, we have the Dragonite that can put on a lot of pressure. It also has Lumberry, Ice Spinner, Outrage, and E-Speed, and Protect. We have a Safety Goggles Palafin, which is massive stunts. It has Jet Punch, Protect, Wave Crash, and Protect. Or sorry, Drain Punch. Did I say that already? I don't know. Either way, something that you can try to do is find a way to position Palafin in and out, get those HAL boosts, and then Jet Punch, Wave Crash, and Drain Punch are just going to be doing massive damage, right? Substitute would probably be nice as well, like maybe Substitute over Drain Punch, so that's something to think about, because Drain Punch is definitely not always good. I do think, again, like, normal Terra Arcanine is very good in instances like this, so this is why I need to think about testing normal Terra Arcanine more. Because something I can do, right, is I can start, like, Tinglu Arcanine and just click, like, HAL Protect, and then click, like, normal Terra E-Speed plus Stomping Tantrum or something, right? But, again, there are going to be times where having that Water Terra is really nice for maybe, like, dealing with something like Torkoal, which, admittedly, you can probably still deal with it. Anyways, sorry, I have the hiccups. But this is a really interesting team. This is a team that I have been trying to work to make more competitively viable in a serious manner, right? Like, I want to, like, see if I can make a version of this team that would actually be usable in, like, a tournament, right? And so this is kind of like my starting point, and I'm giving you guys that starting point to use because it is very good already, and I just need to make some tweaks. So, you know, if we really need to, we can start, like, Fluttermane Dragonite and click Icy Wind Protect. Or we can start Arcanine Fluttermane and click Icy Wind Flare Blitz or Icy Wind Will-O-Wisp, right? So I just thought that using the Icy Wind Steel Terra Fluttermane on this team could be kind of nice. But I also think that bulky Fluttermane is, like, a move right now, and that's not to be understated. So, you know, I might end up changing it, but with that being said, like, I do think this team can definitely pull its weight already, just with, like, the amount of threat that it has, right? So, good stuff, and excuse me for not going over it in crazy depth. Last team for the month, thank y'all for tuning in as always, is this Iron Bundle, Chiyu, Corviknight, Glamora, etc. team. So this is the last team that I used in a video. I do think this team is really solid and, like, very viable in a competitive stance as well. So if you do bring this to, like, a tournament, you know, you can see good success with it. The one thing that I am still thinking about is whether or not I want Roost or Tailwind on Corviknight. I felt like there is instances where starting, like, Fluttermane Corviknight and clicking Tailwind Protect can auto-wind you a game. So for that reason, I have at times opted for a Tailwind Corviknight on more competitive teams over a Roost Corviknight, which might seem weird because Roost is very good, but Tailwind allows you to tip the scales in your favor sometimes in a way that's really important. And I mean, it's also kind of counterintuitive because, like, I'm running a Glimmora team, right? So, like, you would think that you want Roost even more because then you can poison stall your opponents, but sometimes you find that it's actually good to, like, let Corviknight go down, and things like that. So, like, you know, even though Roost would have been nice in, like, that Orthworm game in the last video, once Corviknight got off the field, we brought out Bundle and we just won, right? And so, like, yes, I didn't need Tailwind in that game. Yes, I didn't need Tailwind in any of the other games we played in that video. But there's times where Tailwind will win you the game. And so, I just think that's kind of important. And so, originally, I did want Ice Terra on this Iron Bundle. Turns out that Ghost Terra is really good because I literally beat, like, E-Speed Dragonite or, like, Body Press Orthworm with it, right? So, keeping the Ghost Terra actually is really nice. We have Life Orb Fluttermane standard set. We have Assault Vest Glimmora with Grass Terra, very standard set. Mortal Spin instead of Sludge Bomb. There's give or take with that. But, the Assault Vest Glimmora is just really nice, and you just need ways to play around things like Garchomp, Talonflame, basically. Which, I mean, we can, you know, we definitely can, so that's nice, right? You can start, like, Corviknight Chi-Yu, Corviknight Fluttermane, and click Protect Tailwind. And there's ways that they could call it, but, like, if they don't, you know, we got stunts. Actually, Dragonite is really good into that as well for E-Speed things, right? So, like, if you just, like, normal, well, I mean, it would force the Ghost Terra on Talonflame, right? But, like, there's a lot of interplay, and this team just is, like, a good stuffs team and sees results for a reason, right? Like, Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, and Dragonite is an amazing core, and Glimmora and Corviknight provide those extra options that in certain instances just really give you that upper hand, because, like, you know, you're not always just going to bring Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, Chi-Yu, Dragonite. One of them is going to be bad at times. But Glimmora and Corviknight are absolutely amazing replacements for the Pokemon that is bad in a lot of instances, and can carry the team, you know. So we've seen the whole team in the last video really pull its weight, and I do like this team a lot. So thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry that I definitely started, like, rushing a little bit towards the end there, because I was like, oh god, like, this video is literally 50 minutes long, and it's fine, you know, we out here, and I hope you guys enjoy the teams. I will let you know in the comments, like I said, if I make any adjustments to the teams. But yeah, again, thank you for supporting me, and have a good day.